we're going to call the meeting to order. You want to do roll call? Okay.
Bob Olson, John Nicholson, Mike Copine,
Here.
Jim Sheeline,
Here.
Chris Norberg,
Here.
Doug Farster,
Here.
Marilyn Shippert, Tom Wilson.
Okay, we go to meetings, the attendees. Dee, do you got anything you want to share with us? You got anything you want to share with us? Greg? Anything you want to share with us? Me? Okay, thank you. Did we get a chance to look over the minutes? So any corrections? If none, we'll leave them stand as read. We'll go to the claims reports. Yep, any questions on the claims? We don't need to vote on this. We'll do it as county board. Okay, we'll move on down to reports from committee chairs. Mr. Sheeline.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. We have met this morning, finance, and had a pretty light agenda. We had a report from the insurance committee. No action out of the insurance committee as yet, but that's probably going to be forthcoming, it looks like. Then we had the three major items on old business or new business was the recommendations out of ARPA committee. Those were all approved and will need to be on the agenda. That's all I've got.
Any questions for Mr. Sheeline? Go on, Mr. Copine.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Public safety met yesterday here in this room. You never learn to make a comment. It's going to be a short meeting. The most important things were we did have conversation throughout the committee and participants from visitors, as well as the Highland Park situation and some related topics that may be in the minutes. You can see that. The most in-depth one was dealing with the UTV ordinance. There's some changes that the committee chair would like to see made, and included in that, there was a motion made that we take the UTV off of the table. That was made, and then we continued a discussion. Long story short, committee made a motion that we send the changes back to the UTV committee itself to have it incorporated and an amendment made, and they'll be bringing that back next month again. And basically that was it.
So next month they'll have that. Okay.
If it goes. Now, there was a lot of, I think we had about an hour conversation with the different topics and different elements of everything that's in there. So
A lot of controversy yet over.
there have been 2 out of the 8 townships that were favorable and going to go with it that have now dropped out. Torma has.
Mr. Norberg.
I'll let Mr. Copine finish, but
Oh, go ahead.
and I'm going to tell you that Harmon Township is going to probably be the same way. We got a notification from Torma in their annual magazine that it is going to, or their monthly magazine, that it will increase our liability premiums by having it on the books.
There is well, it's one piece of paper, but a 2-page report that Mike Zeman brought in out of that book.
That's exactly it. Yep.
And if you'd like me to bring it to county board, I can do that. Of course, it's not going to be on the agenda, but this was just a last minute thing that came in explaining Torma's response to it.
You know, maybe we explain that in your report at the county meeting that we're having issues with this, so the general public understands what's going on, why we haven't come forth with it yet, you know. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah,
It's
I
totally
think
your call.
we could still cover it under old business. I think, I don't know.
Why don't we do what our old business, and I'll ask Jack to explain himself at that point. We're good with that?
Okay.
All right.
Yeah, there are some major issues that are coming out, and townships are slowly starting to withdraw.
And I understand their point, why they're doing it too, so.
Other than that, that was it.
Any more questions for Mike? Anybody? Thanks, Mike.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
John, do you want to do properties? Okay,
Talking to me,
yeah.
not on.
Oh, I thought you were, yeah. I didn't know. That's right, you're right. All right. No wonder you give me that look or whatever. Feel like when Ireland.
I could give it.
I feel like when you kept calling Ireland duets after Ireland was off last for 3 years, you know?
Yeah, so because Tom could not be here, he did actually ask me to give a quick overview of what happened at property, so I'm happy to do that. Just a quick heads up, the animal control ordinance, which has been tabled by the full board, will be on your agenda next week. Terry did report that she received some input from the Lee County Farm Bureau manager, Donnell. And Donnell had a couple of minor changes relating to guardian dogs that protect livestock. And so Terry did incorporate those proposed changes in. So there's some slight revisions, which you will see when it gets forward to the full board. So you'll see those revisions, but we are looking for that ordinance to be adopted this month. Other things we had on the agenda are the zoning petitions, some things going to planning and coming back to the board. And I'm going to defer those if Dee or Alice wants to make a comment about those. But before I defer that, I will also point out that the maintenance department STEP program that this committee discussed at its strategic planning meeting was presented to the properties committee, and properties committee did vote to move that forward, the concept of that forward to the full board for approval. Just a reminder, we're talking at this point in time, and what will be before the board for approval is the concept of a STEP program in the maintenance department. Any financial impact of that is going to be presented to finance for approval through the regular budget process, because we're not looking at implementing anything until fiscal year 2023 anyway. And as we told you at the last meeting, this is an evolving process. We're not looking to make dramatic changes immediately in fiscal year 2023, but rather as employees change, we would like to evolve into the proposed STEP program that we presented a couple weeks ago. Also, we'll defer, if Charlie would like, to the topic of the Reagan Mass Transit District. Charlie did give a report on that at properties. And then I think that's all the important topics that were covered during properties. So at that point, Bob, I don't know if you want to defer to Dee, Alice, or Charlie on those other topics.
I think maybe Charlie, would you want to give us a quick rundown of what's going on a time frame?
Sure. So the information that I gave during that meeting was, I think we're on track to get the resolution, the MOU put together and in front of the board in August. I believe Ogle County is going to be doing that just prior to us addressing it. The MOU, as well as the resolution itself, kind of outlines what it is going to be expected from both entities, lots as it's created into the MTD, as well as the county's responsibilities. It kind of outlines what's the assets that would be transferred over, how the employees will be transferred over. It also puts forth what the expectation would be for the governing body in terms of board members or liaisons from the board. Lee County would have 3 members that would be selected. Ogle County would have 2 members that would be selected. And the only adjustment, and one of the things that I brought up during the meeting was, I thought it was an on board, but it was not. So if anybody wants to see it, let me know. The only adjustment that would be with the MOU and the resolution would be just the change in dates so that it's not a circular dating. It would just be that when effective with the resolution, it'd be effective with the MOU as well.
So I did point out to everyone that it's not out there quite yet out on board, although it could be, but we intended to do that at next month's meeting because that's when we're going to be looking for action. At this point, this was just attempting to give you a heads up that this will be coming down next month.
Thank you. Greg, do you got anything you want to add to that? All right, thank you. And Dee and Alice will deal with that when we get down to them. All right, Mr. Forster.
All right, the Transportation Committee met on the 11th on Amboy 8 a.m. Pretty standard meeting. We did basically Engineer Anderson went over the budget or that. And everything as of now seems to be running on track. Of course, we discussed the new plow truck probably won't be in, well, not probably, it won't be in service till 2024 at least. Yeah, it's
Wow.
amazing. Couple years behind. No executive session. The other thing we did speak about, or we had, was at 8:30, we had a bid letting for the drop-off recycling program, pickup and hauling. There was only 2 bidders. Obviously, we went the lower one bid was, so. Other than that, really nothing new.
Any questions for Doug? Marilyn?
Last meeting. There was one, he threw a, I remember exactly. It's over $1,000. Talked to Craig about it, he said that it's somewhere, so he was not paid. Those are the kinds of things that we're catching. A number of departments have said, "Oh, that, see what we're doing, and we're better explain the process to them." Okay, now I'm on. We've explained the process to them, and I know yesterday, I commented at Public Safety about it, and I think Amy was concerned that she and Shannon might come next week to view the process. It seems like it's very helpful for the people at the other end to see what we're doing at our end.
Absolutely. They see why they're filling stuff out. I think that's a great idea. So, anything else?
No.
How's the $1,000 and under threshold working out that Wendy can okay? We have any issues with that or?
So the 1,000 and under is the department head okays it, and I think that the committee claims committee has discussed this a couple different times, but we think that threshold, it seems to fit pretty well.
Seems like that's a good threshold to keep it at.
We're having 40 to 50 claims per meeting, which is not excessive. Right now, Highway Department is in their busy season, so we got more from them.
Sure. All right. Any questions for Marilyn? Mr. Norberg?
Had our meeting on Monday. The one thing I'd like to point out is we had a 25% turnout for the election here earlier this month, which seems very low, but in comparison to other adjoining counties, we were 5% or so higher than them. We had 18% early voting. So the day of had like about 5% actually show up. So 18% early voting.
Wow.
We contribute that to the pushback from the normal time that they were able to come in, pay their property taxes, and then go and vote. So
18% of the total
18% of the total
registered voters voted
early, correct.
So that was 2/3 of the actual voting.
Oh, yes, correct.
Yes.
So,
Wow.
and then there were
That's
some others, you had some mail-in ballots and so on and so forth, but about only 5% was the actual day up. So
How'd our new machines turn out?
the new machines were great. They didn't have any problems. I believe, from my understanding, no problems, very easy to disassemble and assemble. So most of the election judges were able to get in and out in a timely manner compared to what they had in the past. So greatly needed.
Marilyn?
I know at my precinct, I asked about voting on the new machine and they said, "Oh, no, we're encouraging everybody to use a paper ballot." So, and I heard that in another precinct as well. So did we buy these machines and are not using them, or was?
So the new machines are paper that get fed into a single machine, my understanding is, at every polling place. Everybody fills out paper, they feed it into a single machine. That single machine is then transported to the county and downloaded for the compilation later. So everybody had to do paper, was my understanding.
So there's no touch screens or nothing like that?
No, I didn't mind by a touch screen. So, but then it printed out a slip and you
Okay.
put it in it was,
Right, so the touch screen isn't connected to that single machine that does the compilation then, right?
correct. Yes, you still had a paper receipt that had to be put into your fax machine.
Right.
And it's very different, but it seemed to work very well. So no hiccups.
Any questions for Chris? Thank you. I'll move on. We have no old business, new business. establishing, establishing board terms and following, we got a resolution. When do you want to explain this? I guess.
I certainly will.
Nancy's not here.
So following the every 10-year census process, you all as board members had a number of things that you needed to check off the checklist, including considering the districts of the county board, considering the size of the county board. This is one more step because you changed from a 24-member board to a 20-member board. There are a couple more things we need to do. This one, what it's going to do at the August meeting by statute, as referred to in the resolution, the board chairman will draw from a lottery, essentially from 4 pieces of paper representing the 4 districts. And on that piece of paper will be the idea of the 2-year, 4-year, and 4-year, or 4-year, 4-year, and 2-year terms. At this point, all we're determining is which district will get which number of terms. At your beginning meeting in December, that's when the individuals will pull based on the district lottery. The individuals will then pull and determine whether they get 2, 4, and 4, or 4, 4, and 2. So what this resolution is doing is establishing that lottery process for the districts.
So at the August board meeting, we'll do
Right.
this?
So we need the resolution. This is actually part of your, normally a part of your board rules. It will be incorporated into your next version of board rules. But for right now, we need to get this in place so that you can have that lottery next month.
All right, and it's going to be on the agenda down farther, so we'll make
Yep,
sure. Okay.
yep.
Any questions with that? I think it's kind of a weird way to do it, but I guess. Yeah, I thought it'd be even all the way through, but all right. We'll go down to appointments. I got no appointments, no raffle report. Review of per diem for county board approval. I think we settled that this morning, or we got any more review we got to do with that? Any questions on the per diem? Everybody get a chance to look at them? I like your report, how you do this. That's nice, easy to read. All right. We'll move on to, I got no executive session. We'll go on to the county board agenda items. Of course, we'll call the meeting to order, the pledge of allegiance, roll call, board chair announcements, approval of the minutes, zoning and planning. Got the monthly report and minutes. Petitions going to the zoning board. We got none. Petitions going to planning commission. Dee or Alice, you want to explain them 3? And we surely want them on the agenda, but want to take a stab at it?
Sure. These 3 petitions are the proposed ordinances coming out of the Renewable Energy Committee to create a pipeline ordinance for private pipelines that are not covered by eminent domain. We're also proposing a revised wind energy conversion system ordinance and a revised solar energy systems ordinance. We are still getting feedback from various parties on this. So as I get those, if it's something minor, grammar clarification, just cleaning up some language, we're going to consider that minor. If it's a major change or we're hearing some proposal to go a different route, I'll let Mr. Norberg know and we'll reconvene the Renewable Energy Commission for any further discussion. When these go to planning on the 1st, that is solely for public hearing. It's not for the Planning Commission to weigh in on this. It's simply to provide a platform for the public to come in and weigh in on each of these 3 petitions.
So if the public, will there be any changes made after the public?
What we do is then we send the public's comments to the county board for their consideration. So then it's falls back in the county board's court as to whether we need to do further review or if we can proceed with holding the ordinances over.
So at the earliest, like we talked this morning, they're going to come to us in August for the county board meeting, and then we lay it over 30 days. So we're going to have to extend the moratorium 30 days. I understand, because it was up September 1st. Is that correct?
Correct. I thought we did it a little bit longer, but yeah, you You guys know better than I do, but I thought it was a little bit longer, but yes.
Was it
I see heads shaking back there, so I'm gonna say yes.
Okay, I was under that impression, but I guess I probably should double check.
Yeah,
before
let's
I-
check the date on, just so we all know, and we definitely want to leave that lay over 30 days. So anyhow, that's something. we might have to
I'll just
address.
check that right now.
All right. Thank you. Petitions coming from zoning to Board of Appeals. And we're gonna vote on that. We'll have that on the agenda. None, no petitions coming from the Planning Commission. Administrative monthly update, public visitor comments, boards of committees. Purchasing policy, held over in June. June animal ordinance was held over from June. Animal control. We got the appointments for the health department. Did we get anything from them or any feedback from them?
We did. We got the applications. I did create an application process for these types of appointments. So the candidate themselves will fill out a little information biographical on themselves. And we're also requesting on that same form, some information back from the department itself or the agency that's requesting the appointment. So those went out, they're back, and we have them available for the board's consideration next month or next week.
Are they in the board book?
They will be attached to the agenda when we get, we haven't compiled all of the agenda
Right.
for next week's meeting.
I just want to make sure we all read them and.
Yep.
We ask for them, we want to look at them. New business, we got the ARPA committee funding recommendations. Clipper Kitties preschool request, small business program request, small business award agreement, abandoned properties. Any questions as I go through here, speak up. You build Illinois
Mr.
grant.
Chairman,
Yes,
didn't we already do Clipper Kitties? Didn't we do that?
I thought we
last
did
month?
that last month.
Yeah, well, you know what, the second piece of Clipper Kitties is in the small business group, so it does not need to be identified here separately. Becky and I had a couple different conversations about how to approach that one, so I think that can be removed. It's all part of the small business group right now.
Yeah, yep. Because that was the way the motion was this morning. I'll find it. Right.
Yeah, we'll just remove that one off of there. One other update, the purchasing policy, I think I reported last month that there were some additional legislative changes. That is not ready to move forward, so we're going to leave that one go. In fact, we can just remove it from this coming board agenda.
Okay.
Because it's tabled, it can just stay tabled until we're ready to come back. Purchasing policy.
We'll take that off. Old business number 1.
And lastly, as an update, Bob, sorry for the interruptions. It was September 1st for those moratoriums. So yes, we will need to have that on our radar to extend the moratorium at least one more month.
With that, I got a note from Alice about the ZBA changes. Do you want to discuss that with us?
Sure. Coming to you guys this month is from zoning is petition 22P1591. That is GSG Wins petition to repower. It is coming to you with a recommendation for approval from the zoning board with conditions. I have reviewed the conditions that they have suggested. I do have some changes that I am recommending to those conditions, simply to either clean up the language or make it consistent with what we've done in the past or going forward. I do have those outlined. I can provide you copies of what our office is suggesting. And if you have any questions, I'd be more than happy to answer.
Your changes, does it change the core of their
So
conditions?
the major change, the two major changes, I guess, if you want to refer them to that, is construction activities. The zoning board recommended a condition that construction activities shall commence no earlier than 7 a.m. and shall be discontinued no later than 8 p.m. Monday through Saturday within a half a mile of non-participating residences. Our current ordinance has 6 a.m. through 9 p.m. any day of the week within a quarter of a mile. What I would be proposing on this is changing it to the 6 a.m. to 9 p.m. any day of the week within a half a mile of a non-participating residence. I we don't want to slow down construction. There's many factors that they have to consider too. If they have bad weather and they can't work Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, now we're also telling them they can't work Sunday. And we do want them to get these projects developed and not be creating hangups for them. The other change I am suggesting is to the decommissioning. The zoning board recommended that the petitioner be allowed to employ the reverse build wax turbine generator removal method. And this requires the biggest crane to come in. This crane is not going to be able to go onto the road. So they're either going to have to walk it across more landowner property, or they're going to have to disassemble and reassemble. So it is very costly and time consuming. My main concern from a zoning standpoint is protecting the soil. The problem we have with felling the turbines is that if they leave the blades on, the blades shatter into the ground. It's made of a composite material that is non-biodegradable and will be there forever. As a happy medium, I am proposing that the applicant be allowed to utilize any method of deconstruction for a wax facility, as long as the blades are removed in a manner that does not cause the blades to break apart, shatter, splinter, or disintegrate, and that no wax tower may be felled with the blades still attached. Additionally, any hazardous fluids must be removed from the wax turbine generator prior to any felling. So those are the two changes that vary from what the zoning board. Everything else is just replacing applicant with GSG, adding a comma, taking out extra words, things of that nature.
Any questions or comments? Jim?
So is this also consistent with the AMA agreements that the developer has to sign?
Correct.
And it's not, is this,
AMA doesn't tell them what method they can use. They, I guess, leave that up to the county. I mean, they have to comply with making sure the ground is in the condition that it was prior to their project. However, Bureau County has experienced this type of decommissioning, deconstruction, and they are dealing with the issue of having debris left behind in the field, and people are not happy about that. So,
so that would put them in violation of AMA, regardless if it's silent on the methodology, you're still affecting the property. In
correct.
an adverse way.
But AMA does not really have a process for dealing with people who are in violation. So that's why I want to make sure that our ordinance is sufficient, that, that
Well,
we
it
can
does.
protect.
It's a question because it's then up to the state of Illinois to take action.
Right,
That's the issue.
right. So this is just kind of a way to try to find a happy medium that allows us to protect our soil, but still allows them to do the business that they need to do. So.
Thanks, Alex.
If AMA doesn't enforce it, do we have a way of doing
How do you mean?
it? AMA doesn't really have a enforcement mechanism for violations.
Our enforcement is that if they are in violation of our ordinance, then their permit is at risk. We can proceed with revoking their,
That's our enforcement.
right,
Don't have fines.
correct. Well, their
So-
permit.
So going to, and that's a great question, John. That's the reason why in the ordinance, it refers back to AMA. And also, I think it should be noted that any landowner that signs a renewable energy contract should also have the AMA agreement incorporated into their individual contracts. So that way, both the county and the individual property owners can take action against the developer and have that protection.
Yeah.
I agree with Alice's point, to keep that big crane, that crane's 1.5 million pounds, and it just crushes the tile and everything. And I think it takes 40, 50 semi-loads to bring it in, so it hurts our roads. I mean, there's a lot to that. So I really think them are good points that we should probably add to that. Any other discussion? As long as the fiberglass blades and the oils or petroleums are not drained before they do it, I got no problem with it. All right, thanks, Alice. We're gonna go back down to the Rebuild Illinois grant round. I don't know what that is. Oh. All right, want that on there? Establishing county board terms, we did that already. UTV ordinance, we might as well pull that. Is it tabled already, right? Oh, okay, all right, so let's pull that. Appointments, we want that on there. Leave executive session on there. Approval of county officers report, of course, roll call, revenue, approval of board member mileage, yep. Adjournment. Greg, do you want to speak to us on IDOT, the Rebuild America or Illinois?
It is merely a standard application component of our application that always has to go through the county board.
Okay. Is this round three? Do they have, is it normally round three or they got more grant money or what's?
They have additional grant money and we've been encouraged by IDOT to proceed with an application.
Right, I remember talking to you about that now. I'm down to, I need a motion to approve the proposed county board agenda. Mr. Norberg, Mr. Shippert seconds it. Any discussion? Get them to a room or something, you know? Oh, yes. How do we do this then? We got a motion. Okay. So I got, you guys are done?
Sorry,
All right.
sorry, Bob. I thought we were kind of done. We were going through the motion.
All right. I got a motion to, and a second to approve the agenda. All those in favor of approving the agenda signify by saying aye. Opposed? Motion carried. We got an additional thing that come up today, and Wendy, do you want to speak on it or let you explain?
So the existing board, you've changed your board rules beginning December 1, 2022. If you recall, you changed the per diem from $60 to $80 and made a number of refinements to the type of compensation and when it can be paid, including we added, for example, the committee chairs receiving a monthly stipend of $50. In that ordinance, or excuse me, in that resolution, it did also add a little bit of flexibility to those members that serve on what I'm going to call working committees. Your current board rules do not allow for someone to be assigned to a working committee to receive any sort of per diem. So the conversation that took place earlier today was, should there be that opportunity? One of the examples I'll give you is that we're working through this grant program for broadband. I told you a little bit about that at last month's meeting. So John Nicholson has been assigned to that and is participating in that. But under your existing board rules, it is not allowable for him to receive any sort of per diem for that because the rules right now are fairly restrictive that it has to be a committee meeting or a board meeting or a board appointment, a formal appointment like UCCI. So the proposal is that Bob has asked me to draft something for and put on the agenda for next week's meeting is to allow the same level of flexibility that you've already approved effective December 1 of 2022, but allow it a little bit earlier so that any member that's been assigned to some sort of working committee could get that compensation from now till December 1. Obviously, after December 1, they were going to get it anyway. It's just in the interim.
And this did not go through administrative committee. I just want to implement it this next month. I'm sending board members to certain, like Alice went down to view a soil or a solar array. And if I want to send a board member down there, you know, I can't compensate them to spend a day to go there. And I just feel that if I have sent somebody on something like that, it should be. The checks and balances would be they get paid only if the chair, the board chair signs off on it, the administrator signs off on it, and the committee chair that they report to sign off, then they can be compensated. So I was going to bring that, put that on the agenda unless there's some issues. Yes, Marilyn.
That might be a Charlie question, but my interpretation of it is, don't you love it, Charlie, when I tag it off to you and then I give my interpretation anyway? So my interpretation was that this is not changing the dollar amount of the per diem, but rather when is the per diem applied? So that was my
Yeah.
take. Would you agree or do you disagree?
I need to look into it further, but I guess my gut reaction would be it's changing how much a specific person is going to be receiving. So I think it would be something that would have to be at the next term. But again, I'd have to look at that.
I don't think, the way I look at it, I'm not an attorney, as you know.
Oh, okay. Cool.
Yes, but I do know a couple, but, we're not changing the amount. Like if we change it higher per diem, I think we cannot do that. But
So the example might be if Bob creates a special committee for, say, UTVs in the middle of the year, he has the latitude to do that for his board rules. And then having created that committee, approved it through the full board, then that would be an example of something that would be an additional per diem. So I guess, Charlie, that's why I interpreted it the way I did, but I would appreciate your feedback. So Bob has asked me to draft something for next month or next week's meeting. I don't know why I keep saying next month. But I will be sure to run it past Charlie before presenting it to you at next month's meeting or week.
yes. So
Apparently try to get to next month.
we'll definitely wait for Charlie's advice. So anything else? With that, I would entertain a motion to adjourn. Mr. Forster, Mr. Copine, all those in favor, signify by saying aye. Opposed? Motion carried. Thank you.
I got to sign it here, figure out some brings the templates. And if